I was with Joey Fiao, and he was there for my debut film. And I couldn't get anybody. I didn't have any audience. And I was there right in front of the...
In the lobby of the cinema, there are stills from the film.
And guess what I was telling Joey? So that some people would overhear what I was telling him. Alam mo, ang ano niyan?
Bastos?
Bomba yan.
To try to get people to walk into the movie
Yes!
theater.
That was how desperate I was.
The world has gone bonkers. We now live in George Orwell's 1984. War is peace, ignorance is strength, and crazy is normal. How do you stay sane? Elwood Perez is one of the masters of Philippine cinema. His films range from blockbusters like Lipad Darna Lipad to melodramas like Isang Gabi Tatlong Babae, and more recently to art house films like Ocho and the film which I co-wrote, Esoterica Manila. Okay, Elwood, what is the secret of youth? Since, you always tell everyone how old you are, but you do not look it.
Septuagenarian, 74.
Yeah, so what do you do? Why don't you look 74?
Really? I was just so worried right in front of the makeup mirror.
Ang tawag dyan disingenuous. No, seriously, you look very well.
Well, thank you, but you look you look gorgeous tonight.
No, this is makeup.
This is makeup.
This is makeup, and note that we have the same hairstyle. Well, it's a bouffant.
Oh, my period.
Yes. And so, I remember distinctly hitching a ride with you once, and we were stuck in traffic, and your phone rang, and it was Mother Lily. Mother Lily, who was one of the most significant producers in the 80s, the
70s
90s,
and 80s.
the 70s, 80s, 90s. And she started playing the piano, and you had the phone on your ear, and you were just listening to her play the piano. You don't think that this is odd?
Eccentric, but isn't that that is true about you also? You have eccentricities.
Well, I know I'm eccentric,
yourself.
but I'm not going to call you and play the piano in your ear.
She plays the piano more often now.
Okay.
Yeah, three times a day, I guess. And she makes me listen every now and then.
On the phone.
Yeah, and I don't find it odd because she might appear in my film, by the way. The
As
film
herself?
well, in a way, yes. Although my film is about illusion and reality, so you cannot exactly point out if she's playing herself or another character.
But she's in the illusion business, so she's the perfect person to play herself.
And I am very much into that also. Chimera and verite occupy the same space, and that's where I draw my original thought.
Okay. As in your filmography, you always mention something called Blue Boy. Having been your first film, what was that?
It was my launching film as a
Okay.
director and as a screenplay writer, actually.
Wow. Where do you get that title, Blue Boy?
I kept it a secret because everybody thinks it was an art house type of film.
No, I'm thinking more like blue movies equals porn.
Not quite porn, because it was too tame that time. That it actually led to my ruin.
This came out in the early 70s?
1970. And I was wind on the sexual revolution of the 60s.
Yes.
That was the main influence in my
Technically, was
career.
it a bomba movie?
No, it was not. In fact,
You wish it were a bomba movie.
yeah, because I was right there. I was with Joey Fiao, and he was there for my debut film. And I couldn't get anybody. I didn't have any audience. And I was there right in front of the...
In the lobby of the cinema, there are stills from the film.
And guess what I was telling Joey? So that some people would overhear what I was telling him. Alam mo, ang ano niyan?
Bastos?
Bomba yan.
So to try to get people to walk into the movie
Yes,
theater.
that was how desperate I was.
So why do you think it flopped? As in, what was it about?
I guess because of the cast. Miss Rita Gomez, Eddie Garcia, Liza Lorena,
The late Eddie Garcia, yeah.
and a certain Sofia Moran, and of course, maybe it was ahead of its time because
Was it autobiographical?
it showed two different social milieux. From way back, I was after the mise en scène,
Okay.
and this film actually was. I would like to keep it from comics.
So let me
Serialized in
guess,
comics.
it's the story of a guy from the wrong side of the tracks who's social climbing.
In a way, it was a Cunanan story, but tame, and it was a
By
social.
Cunanan, you mean Andrew Cunanan, the guy who shot Gianni
very
Versace.
in a way, it was a social film.
But first, can we offer you something to drink?
Water?
Our assistant Gamba will bring you your water. Okay, that is our assistant. Gamba, yes.
I've been thinking about this also. Anytime soon, I would love to do a remake of Blue Boy. Baka pwede siya. He
So,
might be cast
you're
in,
going to cast
perhaps
him as Blue
he
Boy.
might be cast in the film.
But
That's
have
a
you done
title
that?
role, huh?
Have you done that before? Remake one of your own films?
Never. I thought, I didn't want to repeat myself. But the title Blue Boy is from, and I had that in the film, the painting Blue Boy. Because I shot at this location, Tayet Pascual's mansion.
With his art collection.
With art collection, with a
Yes.
Jean Miro and everything. There was a Blue Boy painting there.
And despite your first film having been a flop, you went on to have an excellent career in film. So why did they give you another chance? After your movie sank without a trace.
After that, I had a nervous breakdown.
I didn't
But
know
I
that.
said, I should at least have been grateful that somebody, Fred Cortez Jr., that's why Anita Linda eventually had to be in all my films. Because
Why? What is Fred Cortez?
Fred Cortez Jr. actually discovered me. He was this young guy, second generation star, and his parents are, the father, I don't know if he's still alive, Fred Cortez Sr., who was a big star in LVN. And Anita Linda, Anita Linda.
So you were discovered for film by the son of Anita Linda.
On TV, because I handled him in a Balintatao episode, which was about, the title I think was Duplex. And it was also ahead of its time, Duplex.
Right, so you were directing for TV, Balintatao.
I wouldn't say
But-
directing. You know why?
Why?
Because way back, there was Lupita Concho, who was the director for television, and we from the theater
Yes.
were called stage directors.
So
at
technically you
once.
were just you were filming the stage version.
You would block the stars. I actually had a very close relationship with a production designer.
Okay.
So I had also a hand in how to fix the set. Like I said, mise en scène, and that was my strength.
When you started out, was there like a big gap? Like, you work for you're a film director, you're a TV director, and then did the film directors look down on the TV directors and so on?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was the people from the theater who had a George Cukorish perspective or
So
perception that they were more
that they were better than everyone.
Yes, and it helped us a little bit because in that same group, Lino Broca was from there, and Nestor Torres, Nick Lizaso, Jun Roy, and of course my bosom buddy,
Joey
Joey
Gasiao.
Gasieng Fiao, and the writers were, the literary manager was Alberto Florentino.
So the snobbery came from the fact that theater was more literary and also less commercial, i.e., walang kumikita dyan.
drama anthology series. It was what it was called.
Okay.
And the producer was Cecil Guidote,
Okay.
the Alvarez NCCA.
And so you were directing for Balintatao, and then
he discovered me.
And then you started working.
I wouldn't say directing, ha? Baka nakakahiya kay Lupita.
Oh, so you were blocking.
Yeah.
You were blocking
Stage
things.
manager
Yes.
is how they called us. Because there was a floor manager also. I owed it to these people because they, especially Lupita, she was fond of me. And she gave me some other shows like The Pleasure of Your Company, which was a socio-cultural activity show, and the musical, where I was honed. You know, I honed my skills going way back. It was all done in the studio. But we had a 16mm camera
that's
that
what
took me
that's what
somewhere.
I don't see on TV anymore. As in, the TV shows of my childhood where people would gather around the piano and just sing, and we were supposed to watch this for 1 or 2 hours. And now that I think about it, why?
A family. You know, that's so typical of many families. I think.
Well, it also accounts for the fact that The Sound of Music is the quintessential Filipino film.
Because, that's how Lina Broca got to be popular. Wanted Perfect Mother.
Which is
He
his
did
version of The Sound of Music.
Yeah, from the comics. From comics also. Mars Revelo comics. From way back, it was the source of everything was comics. But it helped that I was renting out comics. in Mabalacan.
So wait, so Lipad Darna Lipad was not your first comics movie?
When I was about, I don't know, in the 50s, there was a film, Darna, by I think Carlos Bander Tolosa, Rosa del Rosario.
Rosa del Rosario, yeah.
They had all the snakes, the pythons, and everything there on display in Paraiso Theater. Would you believe that was the theater where I went to? And I would...
Real snakes?
Real reptiles.
So to promote Valentina in Darna, they brought real reptiles?
Exactly.
That's disgusting.
In my time, that was glorious.
So Valentina had real snakes on her head?
Perhaps, but that was very scary.
Well, I remember Celia Rodriguez once saying that there were real snakes. You made her wear real snakes on her head.
And I was so silly. I don't know why I had a cobra really right behind at her back. You couldn't just imagine, even if that was...
you sewed the cobra's
it was sewed, but
mouth
you could
shut.
imagine if...
Animal abuse!
Sila yun. Wala pa nun eh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about, how animals were treated on set in those days. But,
where is your
but you had
baby?
You had actual she wore water snakes on her
Water
head,
snakes
diba?
and some fake what do you call it?
Yeah, and non-poisonous, but still it's gross to have something wriggling
but
on your head.
that actually made me that film. You know why?
Why?
I camped it up. It was a camp. My segment was as they called it, episode, because there was about 3 episodes.
Yes.
Mine was the camp fantasy, and I had Maharani Valentina Vranda Kapoor,
PhD in reptilian zoology from the University of New Delhi. Yes.
Oh wow, you knew it. You know it.
Yes, because you told me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Darna was a big hit, and after that, did you have your pick of the movies that you wanted to direct?
That was a phenomenal hit. Like during the rice shortage, and there was rationing on that day. There was this really, really long queue. Even this pregnant woman was there and nakanak.
Somebody gave birth in the line waiting to see
Well,
Darna.
they had to rush her to hospital.
Okay. So, and this was like 40, 50 years before the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so after that, what movie did you make?
Zoom Zoom Superman.
And I'm guessing that you did not have the rights to the character of Superman.
Exactly. That's why we were sued. And
You were sued by DC Comics?
yeah, when it made
Wow.
it made a lot of money. That they had
your
to get
Zoom
their...
Zoom Superman came out, and a few years later, right, the Christopher Reeve Superman movie came out.
Yes, in 1978 when I was filming in New York, and I already directed.
So you arrive in New York and they're making Superman.
No,
It's
they were
like,
showing Superman. I watched it.
I made that na.
Yeah, 8 years
Okay.
back.
You know how Filipino filmmakers were always very casual about using other people's intellectual property? James Batman. I read about a Dolphy movie called James Batman, which is a combination of James Bond and Batman. It's just insane.
Yeah, but that was pastiche ba yan? How do they call it?
Well, you know,
But the
it's
thing
the
is,
usual
but the thing is,
parody.
that's why, you know, you have to be very careful, filmmakers out there. You have to be very careful about pitching your titles. It could get stolen and you cannot sue them for the use of titles.
But anyway, so from directing Lipad Darna Lipad, I guess that's how you developed a working relationship with Vilma Santos. You have directed many hits for Vilma Santos, and you've also directed many hits for Nora Honor.
Yeah, 6. Well, kulang na lang isang 6. Mabuti na lang 5. Alma Moreno 5, I think. Yeah.
I don't.
6.
You know, I'm sure Alma
No.
Moreno has her supporters, but I don't think she's in the same rank as Vilma Santos and Nora Honor.
But there was a time that she was huge, and she really reigned as the movie queen of that.
But going back to Vilma and Nora, so you directed 6 films with Vilma Santos and 6 films with Nora Honor.
It's like a walk in the park working with these 2 actresses. The only problem you'd encounter would be that they wouldn't be available for a long time because
They were overscheduled.
Yeah, they were. All these producers would queue and they'd wait for them for their availability.
Although we hear a lot of stories about how Nora Honor in particular would show up very late for shoots. Is that true? Was that true at the time?
For me, no, I have not encountered that.
Oh,
Not
really?
really.
I remember that when I was a kid, they used to show Lollipops and Roses at Burong Talangka on TV all the time. And you shot that in the States with
yes.
Nora Honor and Victor Laurel.
Yeah.
And did you have permits to shoot where you did? Or was this a guerrilla operation?
Exact word, guerrilla.
Mm-hmm. As in, you just you just happened to walk into a supermarket with a camera and nobody stopped you?
I was young at the time, but I had a very senior guy, the dean of cinematographers in the Philippines, Kai Pesakdalan. Oh my God!
Okay.
Oh.
And then?
And he was and of course, because he was senior, I discovered his assistant, Johnny Araujo, who became a very popular cinematographer.
No, seriously, in the States, as in you shot with impunity and nobody stopped you? Nobody said, hey, where's your permit?
You know what is the most important element in drama?
What?
I also have that element in me all the time. Suspension of disbelief. So I forget all about it. I'm just there. You are a character. I'm working with you. I don't even know. I don't even think you're Nora Honor.
So your disbelief is suspended so that no one even looks at the strangers filming in their supermarket and says,
what are
these weirdos doing?
I actually involve them.
So you just ignore them. That's the secret.
I
you just ignore them.
I involve them.
You actually gave them directions like, can you pick up that orange?
Yeah, even in the worst that you could do guerrilla is in terminal.
Airport,
yeah.
Did you actually shoot in the airport?
Yeah, I was shooting there, and I had.
Obviously, this is not going to happen in the post 9/11 era. So.
Well, I did it eventually.
You shot in the airport without permission.
I think I could still do it. It's.
Wait, I just remembered that in one of the films that you shot abroad, one of the stars was Don Johnson before he became famous.
I wish it's a mistake. No, the Don Johnson was the one that came before my film.
Lollipops and
Roses, yeah.
It wasn't yours.
It wasn't mine. It was. You know who directed it? Because you know who built up Nora?
Who?
The father of Joey Marquez, who is my
Artemio Marquez.
So
that's the one with the Don Johnson movie.
He is my uncle.
Okay, end of interview.
He was my uncle, actually, you know. Yeah, kasi
Pampanga, right?
The mother, it's from Cavite. The mother of Joey Marquez was my father's sister.
Oh,
Villa Marquez, all these people, you don't know them anymore, no?
but so you're related to Melanie Marquez. Wow.
No, Melanie Marquez was brought by my aunt. It's a story of the Marquezes and
It's convoluted.
yeah, like some of my plots.
Yes. You made movies. You made more than a movie a year for a long time, and then suddenly in the late 90s there was a gap. What is this long gap of how many years? Like
First 10 years, and then
Okay.
I did 2, and then another 10 years.
yeah. Why did you stop making movies?
I'm just like a child.
Okay.
And it's so easy. You know, if I get disappointed with the people I work with,
Parang, I don't like na.
and also that I thought I kept repeating myself. Up to now, I've never been after the money. I'm so silly, you know. Before, when you say indie, that meant you were in demand.
Not independent. Okay. That's
But
kind of corny, but-
I've always been an independent spirit. Yeah, and I thought, you know, my films are getting to be formulaic because, but the formula, like for example, the conventions of Shakespeare, who actually formed them? Shakespeare himself, di ba? Kanya, the academics and the scholars are talking about Shakespearean, the conventions of Shakespearean drama,
Okay.
or say, historical drama, etc., etc. His iambic pentameter, he was the one who established those things. So I thought, you know, I ought to really embark on something else.
And what was this thing that you embarked on? That was something
I
else.
wanted to go back to school actually, but I still am too lazy. No, I'm a drama major, but I wanted to, you know. So what I did was just, I kept reading. And I learned to have fun that way.
And this was in the 90s, right?
In the 90s to 2005, I think.
And I remember that in the 90s, you know, I used to run into you at the movies. And that's how we got to talking, because for every movie that I watched, I would run into you.
Oh, well.
Especially in, you know, the Spanish Film Festival,
Oh,
the French Film
yes.
Festival,
I love
and so
Spanish
on.
films.
Yes.
During my time, when I was in college, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, till Saturday, every night, just like Tom in the Glass Menagerie, I went to the movies at night.
Di ba
And
Francois Truffaut said you had to watch a movie a day?
Sharon?
Yeah.
Ako, during weekends, 3. But you know, nothing could beat that era when everything was just shown in all these cinema palaces.
Why were theater owners in the 60s and 70s so much more open to non-English films?
The films were usually star-driven films. If you were an Amalia Fuentes, everybody wanted to do an Amalia Fuentes film.
You had this hiatus, and then when you came back, studio filmmaking was already on the way out, and you know, indies had taken over. So you had to learn how to work within the indie system, which is basically no system. So was it a shock?
Bagay sa akin, di ba? I basically have no system because I'm always groping. I'm looking for all the elements available there on the set.
I know firsthand what your working process is like because you convinced me to write a script for you.
Yeah.
So I remember we had a meeting. I said, Elwood, what is this? What's the script going to be about? And then you just started telling me random, unconnected stories about your adolescence and your 20s and 30s. And then you said, that's it. I said, what? And so somehow, I was supposed to knit them together.
You're the perfect writer for me, actually.
It's not so much writing as translation.
No.
Because, your mind just goes everywhere. So my job is to kind of
Just
put some sort of coherent
just like if you
order
tell me to speak for 1 minute, I couldn't do that because I'm rambling. And there is one thing I can tell you. You write picturesque dialogue.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
Thanks. And then I remember distinctly you're saying that, okay, I want you to show, parties, fabulous people, etc., etc. So I wrote some party scenes, and you looked at my script, you said, ang mahal naman nito if we're going to stage it. But you had an instant solution, as in, you called your amigas who live in Forbes or wherever and said, happy birthday! Are you going to have a party? Can I shoot it?
Exactly.
So you know how to work.
My strong point is
Networking.
no, a sense of belief.
I have to say that you were working with one camera and your driver was holding the microphone. And we shot in Solidaridad bookstore, and I looked great in it, in my cameo.
Oh, because I always tell you, just like I always tell my actors, feel beautiful.
Yeah, that's your instruction always before the take. Feel beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and you mentioned something about being indie at heart, even when you were making studio films, and I understand that because I distinctly remember I was resting at home. I was, I think, watching DVDs, and you called me and said, hey, I just ran into Boots Anson Roa. She's getting married. She's trying on her wedding dress. Can you write us some lines? Because as long as I'm here, I'm going to film her.
Fabulous lines.
Well, yeah, but it's
And
like...
she loved
and completely out of context, I just wrote you some dialogue and texted it to you, and there.
Bagay sa kanya because Boots Anson Roa,
I don't know what it had to do with the rest of the story.
And it came out, no?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
But and that's
Came out
it.
well.
It's like it's very random, but
Yeah.
somehow it belongs.
Because film, everything happens in the cutting room.
Yeah.
They always said that from way back, and I knew that. During that time when I was young and reckless, this could have been more my time because we're working with digital.
As in the possibilities
this is
are
actually
easier.
Yes, and this generation is so lucky.
You know that joke? If you can't figure out a piece of technology, look for a 5-year-old. It's not a joke anymore. As in, I can't figure out this new phone. Find me a 5-year-old to figure it out, and they will.
Exactly. I was at this what you call this restaurant, and that time I didn't even know how to. A 3-year-old was doing it. So that actually translated into Otso. The little boy was the filmmaker.
Yes, right. And I also remember that we had been working on the film, and you had been shooting it in pieces. And then one day you tell me, I cut together a trailer, and you sent me the trailer. And I watched the trailer, and I said, the trailer looks fantastic. I don't think I wrote the scene where a guy is raped in a in a sauna. So and then you said that, because I was I have an unfinished film, and I didn't want to waste those bits, so I worked them in.
Yeah. After all,
Waste not, want not.
Yeah, after all, it had that LGBT thing about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it worked.
So, what have you learned from your career in filmmaking? Which has spanned the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2010s.
I learned it from the Dean of Cinematographers.
Whose name we now remember. It is
Ipe Sakdalan, Felipe
Ipe
Sakdalan,
yes.
Yeah. And he shot several films abroad and also made films for Roger Corman and worked with some of the best directors.
Sergio Santiago.
And all those people.
Yes.
And then he said, I'm impressed with you. Okay ka, marunong kang mag-direct. Pero director, isa lang bagay ha, you forget to feed your crew on time.
Aha!
So, I never forgot that. Sila talaga yung
They do the actual work naman eh.
Yes. And then,
Paano bang, no matter, your vision, it may be your vision, but they're the ones who are going to execute it.
Exactly. And yan ang gumising sa utak ko. And then I said, because like I told you, that suspension of disbelief for the moment. How could I ever think, you're right there in a park or in the streets of San Francisco. Would you even ever think of having a lunch break? Guerrilla and everything? But then that, yun.
No, you should always break for meals.
Yes, yun pala.
Which is a good lesson to know.
Yeah, but ako kasi, I forget to eat sometimes.
Okay, thank you very much
Ganun na
this
lang.
interview. I know how rare it is for you to accede to interviews. So, and now let's go have merienda with our crew, which is the most important thing that we have learned today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.